Hello, everybody. Welcome to this stream. Welcome to Uncut History. Uh, so this is gonna be a little bit different. Most time when I go to live stream, I try to have like a history topic and talk about that. This is gonna be partly a rant, but I hope to turn into a good rant by the end and give promotion to some people. And in the chat, we got Chill Kid also is in the chat. Do you need music? Hmm. I've honestly not really thought about music yet. There is always time. I will never say no to music, especially if it's free. We like free stuff. We like free stuff. We all like free stuff. So, what's prompted this is essentially how do I want to word this? Does anybody ever listen to The Outlaws? The country music album, The Outlaws, Wanted the Outlaws. I had Waylon Jennings, Willie Nelson, Jesse Coulter, had several country musics on, and the whole reason this album was created was because in the early to mid 1970s, country music was dominated by one type of music, and that was the Nashville sound. Had all this very nice, very smooth, almost orchestral, and it was this. And don't get me wrong, I like some Nashville sound music, but it over a while became repetitive, and a lot of country singers didn't really fit into it, so they went off and did their own thing. And outlaw music can be best described being a little more rugged, a little rougher. And those names I mentioned, Waylon Jennings, Willie Nelson, Jesse Coulter, they all went on to become some of the biggest names in country music. If anything, outlaw music became the dominant form of country music for the late 70s into the 80s, even into the early 90s. The reason I'm bringing all this up is I can't be the only one that's thinking lately that God, the movies suck today. God, the music sucks today. Why is a historian ranting about all this? Well, I think it's all ties one and two and same. So, if you do not know, I am located out of Western Pennsylvania, not in downtown Pittsburgh per se, but in the periphery of Pittsburgh. I would be what you would call a Gen Zer, so I'm probably younger than most people I interact with. So I came into the world in the midst of the early 2000s where pop music went from being what was popular on the radio to being a genre. And as a kid, I just didn't understand the appeal of it. I'm very blessed that I was grew up around very good music. I was listening to all the music of my parents and my grandparents. So I got quite the foray of music going all the way back to the 1950s. So that's what I latched onto. And I'm like, why is everybody listening to this pop? It sounds like boop. And over time here in Western Pennsylvania, I also grew up in a time where most of the industries that built this region, why people, people, business industries that my family members were involved with, like the coal mines, the steel mills, all that had long since imploded, and you're left with urban decay essentially. That's why the thumbnail of this live stream is of a bank of coke ovens that have been in ruin for many years. But then a weird thing started happening around the 2010s. Uh, the state went in and reclaimed a lot of these ruins, and then you're just left with blank lots, which are even worse. Like there's just barren landscapes. And why am I bringing this? My point. Maybe I just should show I'm rambling. So let me just show you. Share screen. Share screen. This is the first time I've ever shared screens, by the way. So bear with me. Let's see if this works. All right. So, in the current century, we've been dealing with removal of monuments. People have been coming out and saying that a lot of the monuments we have to promote historical figures are only telling one side to the story. And what you're currently looking at now is a monument that stood in Lincoln Park in Boston, Massachusetts. This is actually a replica of another monument that was put together by Union veterans, which is still standing as far as I'm aware in Washington, D.C. And we have President Lincoln standing there. We have a enslaved individual whose shackles have just been broken, and of course, this is to represent the passage uh, of the Civil War amendments, the Emancipation Proclamation, freeing the slaves, all that wonderful stuff. A lot of people had an issue with this, even from the time the monument was erected. Frederick Douglass actually criticized this monument, partly because he did not like that there was a black man having to kneel to a white man, and also had a problem that the monument did not give credit to other individuals involved with the emancipation of former of slaves in the Deep South and throughout all of the United States. So over time, there was enough protests, and this monument was removed in December 2020. Now, just down the street in the Boston Common, they just dedicated another statue. And this one's to Martin Luther King. And Martin Luther King was involved with Boston history, as in the early, the mid 60s. I forget the exact, I think 64. He was involved with getting voting rights for African Americans in Boston, and absolutely deserves to have some, if not a lot, of recognition for this important event for Boston history. Well, this is the statue they put up down the street. Uh, it's to represent a photograph of Martin Luther King and his. I'm kind of looking at the stream. It's very grainy, and I apologize. Hopefully, I'm being heard. I'm looking at the stream right now. This is to represent Martin Luther King embracing his wife when they get reports that, yes, the voting laws have been passed. For whatever reason, they decide not to put the heads on this monument. It's just the arms. And in certain ways, you look at it like this, it looks like a pile of dookie. I'm sorry. That's what came to my mind when I first saw this. But art is, I guess, subjective, to each their own. But we went from this having a monument of two individuals. This is clearly telling a story to that. Moving on, a little more local. This is a photograph of a city about an hour north of me. This is the city of Johnstown. Johnstown is actually where one of the very important steel, I don't know words. One of the big principles into making steel. Basically, the United States steel industry really got to start in Johnstown. I don't know why I'm rambling, but of course, the ideas that were experimented with in Johnstown were taken down to Pittsburgh for the big steel industry to build it. But Johnstown still had massive steel industries for over 100 years. You're looking at the Bethlehem plants north of Johnstown. I believe this is around. Let's look at the cars. I'd say around the 1950s. Well, here's a view kind of actually from the hillsides in the background of that today. It's all gone. It's not just one thing that the steel industry collapsed. None of these buildings were repurposed. And as you can see, they have demolished everything. Like this is would have been Albin Mills. I think about 3 miles worth in the Conemaugh River Valley, all gone. And actually, there's even less of this building now from the time the photo's been taken. I've been there in person. Oh, thank you, Chill Kid. Also, must just be how I'm looking at it. As long as you can hear me, that's the important thing. And then we get into comics. Now, I'm going to be honest, I never really got into comic books. I've always told people I struggle to read Lord of the Rings, which I know is a novel, not a comic. But boy, you give me a giant thick book about the military tactics of the 19th century, I'm going to be a very happy person. But anyways, this is Blade. I believe Wesley Snipes played him in the live action movie, correct? Anyways, this is Blade. It's just a cool photo. I want that framed on the wall, honestly. Uh, I believe Blade came around in the late 80s, 90s. Well, this is superheroes we got in the 2010s. Snowflake, safe space. They don't have no weapons. They they like their bright colors, which will probably make them a target. Blade, black as the night, stealthy, got them swords, cut me to shreds. What am I looking at here? And then we come to probably the thing that maybe set me off into a brief spat of insanity, sandy laughter. President Biden presents National Humanities Medals to actress Mindy Kaling. And, well, I think she was supposed to be awarded this in 2021, but with the pandemic, I think a lot of the award ceremony got delayed back till this year. She was awarded just this week. Well, In 2021, it would have made sense to give Mindy Kaling this award as she wrote for The Office. Now, I've not personally watched much of The Office. I heard in little segments have been shown, but I know a lot of my friends and coworkers, The Office is a big part of their life. So I can understand, hey, The Office had a very big culture impact on the United States. But boy, does this not is this not good timing to give her such an award concerning what she created? You know, that Velma show, which I don't have a photo of, and to be honest, I really don't want you to see a photo of. You've probably heard about it. I call it the HBO Max show that must not be named. In short, they decided to take the characters of Scooby Doo, take the dog away from it. Mindy Kaling essentially self-inserted herself in Velma, and the humor is so raunchy, and it's not even funny raunchy. It is. It is I am convinced the show was created to piss everybody off. Every single person in this country, in the world watching it just to see if they can get on everybody's skin. It's shock humor. It's meant to get a rise out of you, and boy, does it get a rise out of me. Even though I really not a big Scooby Doo fan. It's just a question: why? Why so much visceral hatred, jokes? Just so that came out. Was it last summer or was it earlier this year? I don't know. It came out recently, and just this is not good timing. Not good timing. And we awarded somebody for writing a show that insults everybody in at least in the United States. I'm coming back to the main screen. Hold on. So my point being, Mindy failing. Yeah. My point being, what the hell is wrong with our culture? Yeah, apparently it's supposed to be, I don't know if it's supposed to be a comedy, if it's supposed to be, I don't know what it's supposed to be. I don't think anybody knows what it's supposed to be. I don't. I didn't watch it because I personally believe the show was created purely for rage culture. I purely believe it was created to make people watch and get angry. Like it, basically, I'm feeding into it right now by mentioning it, which is why I say it's the HBO Max show that must not be named. Naming it gives it power. I'm getting red, Jesus. So my point being, in terms of our industries, economy, our historical interpretations, and our pop culture, everything's just bleh. That's how I describe it. Bleh. And it's gradual, just over time. I've just gone more and more, just my fists turning tighter, just like, how much more do I have to be beaten over my head with all of this nonsense? Now, I don't think this is necessarily an extraordinary event. And that's why I brought up Wanted the Outlaws at the start of this live stream. If you look over not just American history, any civilization history, you have these trends. You have these trends where a new idea sparks. Wow, everybody's liking this idea. Let's copy this idea. Oh, now everybody's doing it. Oh, now we've oversaturated the market. But this is what makes money, right? We got to keep going. We got to keep going. We must keep going. And then eventually you get enough people that decide to be rebellious. Like, you know what? I'm going to go do it myself. Screw you. I don't need you. And then we go off and we get a new thing. Rinse and repeat. I think currently we're at the point in at least here again in the United States. I can't speak for the whole world. I can't even really speak for the whole country. I isolate myself to Western Pennsylvania. But things are just everything we're being shoved down everything's being shoved down our throats. We're not doing well for ourselves. But the good news is I think people are starting to catch on that something's off and we need to do something now. Uh, for example, yesterday I was at a bar and on the TV they had ABC News on. I haven't had a major news outlet on around me in years. Like I disconnect from that a while ago because I just found it to be gross. And watching that 2 hours at the bar made me remind, yeah, this stuff is gross. Like, oh, it's just stuff, just junk food. It's just ugh. I don't know how to word it. It's just so sickening. It's just so sickening. Oh, Jonathan Rosen is it Rosignol? I probably mispronounced that. I apologize. But thank you for joining us in today. It's just, just I can't even think of the words. I guess ultimately what it comes down to, and why I'm talking about this here on a channel that's normally dedicated to history, is I think for many years, let's take for example the American Civil War. The American Civil War, was fought 1861 to 1865 between Northern Republican states, Southern Democrat states. The Northern Republican states want to. The main debate was, were people going to be enslaved or they were going to be free, and ultimately just sparked a massive conflict. Anywhere from 600,000 to 800,000 Americans were killed, depending on your sources. Complete devastation of the Deep South. I mean, cities burned, gutted. The economy for the South, as well to the extent the North, was wrecked. Uh, Definitely left a scar. So after that, trying to reconcile, what you start seeing happening is, for a while, it was pretty strong. We had the Grand Army of the Republic, which were Union veterans, and you did have Confederate veteran groups as well. And they try to be reconciliatorial with each other, but the South is furious at what happened. They had lost their economy, their way of life. And as the certain veterans die off and you end up with less, what you end up happening is in the 1890s, you get a lot of these Southern veterans to start believing in the lost cause myth. They start believing that, well, the war was doomed from the start, and these certain people, they conspired to ruin the whole thing, and our fight was noble. In fact, we spent 4.5 years fighting for a good thing, states' rights, this and that. The states' rights do what? And over time, as more unit veterans die off and more of the old guard, once they dies off, this gives way to a resurgence of people going, yeah, maybe, yeah, the Confederacy were okay. Yeah. Oh no, they were actually noble. They're doing this and blah, blah, blah. And then you got again things like Birth of a Nation by J.W. Griffith, which expounds this 3.5 hour epic about how the Ku Klux Klan were actually good people and they were defending Southern rights. And over years, you started developing just all these Confederate monuments, and you just started developing just this myth of the Civil War. And eventually, when civil rights came around, and you got a lot of clashes there in the 1950s and 60s with things like the Klan and diehard Southerners and are ingrained in this lost cause myth that the war was a noble effort. Over time, what you start seeing happen is finally cooler heads will start prevailing. Civil rights is one. Everybody starts coming together again, and we start preserving these battlefields. We start going out, it's like, okay, instead of like stamping monuments left and right and these big equestrian statues of people like Robert E. Lee and Jefferson Davis, maybe we should interpret it a more grounded approach. Talk about what happened to these soldiers, treat them as people. And then it's like, hey, there's these unknown stories. Hey, there was these civilians involved in the war. Hey, the war was about slavery, so let's talk about the African American side of thing. We really, everybody started wanting to talk everything. And then I feel over time what it started developing is the we started getting more of champion. Hey, we got to talk about African American history. Yes, we got to talk about women's history. We got to talk about this group, and we got to talk about that. And it's like, and it's important. I don't take that away. But then over time, you start to like, okay, but what about the main part of the war? No, no, we got to champion African American rights. And we got to talk about this. We got to talk about. It's like it comes across as overcompensation. I guess it's the only way I can describe it. And over time, we get more and more of this of we gotta focus on this group. We're so sorry. We're so sorry. We victimized you, and then that group of people's going, no, that was people from 5 or 6 generations ago. You had no involvement in that. Oh well, we're sorry. We're sorry. We're sorry. And we developed this victimhood culture essentially as a result. You end up just this victim, and we swung the other direction now in historical interpretation. And then you get things, and now it's not necessarily Civil War related, but then you get the stuff like the 1619 Project, which, for the record, I don't think it was actually. It's not an actual like government like curriculum. I think it was some news reporter just espoused it, and basically, it basically what the United States was founded purely upon the enslavement of Africans, and it has always been that, and everything in the world is about this one thing. And it's like, I appreciate that. Yes, definitely. We need to reveal that, yeah, the creation of our country was not ugly. It was ugly. Oh my God. Now somebody's going to clip that. I'm canceled. I'm going to be canceled anyways. It was ugly, but that doesn't mean that you have to go from one extreme to the other. And that's what you see in a lot of our, why I'm bringing this all up is you see it in our pop culture stuff. Everybody's going, the first black, this hypothetical, the first black actor, the first black female actress, the first black Indian actor, the first black Indian is Spanish actress. And then you just keep going over time, just keep adding on these hyphens and hyphens, the first this, the first that. And it's all about the color of their skin. It'd be like the equivalent of me saying, "I am the first white Slavic Russian Polish to do this." There's no merit, but we're under this bounce. Well, these people were oppressed, so they deserve this. It's like, no, that's not how that works. You have to earn it. I am done. Chill kid is coming after me. Oh no, the end. You just over time, just like you still gotta work. I I can't just, I can't just put a bunch of things in my name and say, look at me. I do all this stuff. I haven't proven that I can do this stuff, but I'm telling you I can do this stuff. It just doesn't come across as impressive. But the media have clearly latched on to this whole thing of, oh, if we highlight somebody's uncontrollable thing, like nobody can control what skin color they're born with. Nobody can control their sexuality. Nobody controls this stuff. Just it's inert. Over time, what starts happening is you turn this into a product, a commodity, and it's just not. It's inhuman. That's there. It's that my whole rant for a half hour. It's inhuman when you're taking this and you're summing these people up. You're just summing human beings up by these uncontrollable things, and that's what you're going to market off of. And the whole thing, I have an issue. It's a masterpiece. You identify it as a masterpiece. That you can do that. You can do that. You don't have to do anything, chill kid. You just say it's a masterpiece, and I must believe you. And if I dispute you, then I am evil. I am evil. So you just over time just got this it's just becoming inhumanizing, and it's just inhumaning. And ultimately, then whenever time something's happening in the world, you always get people. Oh, I didn't even pull it up. You always have people who go on social media. They magically become intelligent about this movement, and then you end up with, yeah, I know you can see what I'm typing. You can see I really don't plan this stuff thing. And then you end up with this situation. I support the current thing. Like you have the Ukraine flag there. That's a good example. There's so many people that go with I support Ukraine and Ukraine this, Ukraine that. And I'm like, that's great. How are you going to help the Ukrainian people? I asked, how are you going to help the Ukrainian people? You don't even know where Ukraine is on the map, do you? Don't question my authority. Hours and hours of blink audio. Well, believe it or not, I'm gonna go off tangent, but since I have somebody in chat, there is like a composition. What is it called? Like 4 minutes, 24 seconds. Where it's a real thing. I was I remember in high school they taught us this. Uh, it's this music composition. It has all the bars and everything, and it's for 4 minutes and 20 some seconds. Nothing, and it actually marks when you have to turn the page. It's crazy. Maybe I should. Hey, that won't be copyrighted. I bet you. I can play that music. I can play that music. Sorry, that's just one of my funny stories to tell about. But you just you got these people of their what is the hashtag movements, and they're like, "We're changing history. Look at me. I put a black screen up. I changed things." Meanwhile, should I mention the freedom riders who had their buses bombed? Yeah, you're not the same thing. Putting a black screen on for make a movement to be having bombs thrown at you. Not the same thing. I have a saying going around now, and I'm like, you can't wait for the government to authorize your revolution, because that's what I feel a lot of this is. You got all these people. Mindy Kaling is a good example. That get on their soapboxes and they just start telling, they're like, we're changing things for this person and that person, blah 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 blah, and everybody gets involved with like, yeah, we're a revolution, and I'm like, it's not a revolution if they endorse it. It's not a revolution if Hollywood is promoting it. That's not how that works, folks. I'm sorry, just it's not how that works. So yeah, my cat's well, either my cat's agreeing with me or she's really angry at me that I'm yelling at this time of night. Old man yells at modern music, modern movies. I just bring this all up because I believe it's all connected. I see it in the history community. I see it's just like, and it's not that I'm disagreeing with telling these. I want these stories told. I want new stories told. But you can't just trade one part of history to the other. That's why I brought up the lost cause movement, because that was definitely a swing of the pendulum in the wrong direction. Very bad interpretation of the war. But now we're starting to swing into another misinterpretation of the war. I mean, we have people when they tear down these monuments, it's not just Confederate monuments they're going after. They knocked down Frederick Douglass's statue where he gave his July 4th speech. Really good speech, by the way, which actually could be very used very well for all the hashtag movements of today. That they're very hollow, but they're just targeting a lot of in Pittsburgh. There was a statue of Stephen Foster, very famous songwriter, wrote "Oh Susanna," a lot of big songs from the mid to late 19th century. He was inspired a lot by songs from African Americans who were enslaved, and in fact, the statue had Stephen Foster and it actually had what was to be a representation of African Americans. People got upset because it's an African American on there and he must be subordinate to a white man if he's on a statue. It couldn't be that it's actually acknowledging where Stephen Foster got his influences from, which is very rare for these statues, believe it or not. Normally you don't recognize where this came from. So this was a statue doing it in the right direction. Well, they tore that down because it was inappropriate. I don't even know where it is now. And it's a shame because a lot of his songs became ingrained with the United States in the late 19th to 20th century, early 20th century. It's just like I I do believe a lot of not necessarily the people in power, but the people that do get on these hashtag movements, I do believe some of them mean earnestly. I don't think they're being malicious. That's not what I'm thinking. But I believe they need to go out and touch grass. There's more everything. What I've learned from history, it's everything's gray. Everything's gray. There's no heroes. There are a lot of villains. There are people that but there are people that do good things in bad times, or even if they didn't intentionally do it out of the goodness of their heart, it could have unintended good effects, and that should still be acknowledged. Maybe not celebrated, but acknowledged. I mean, probably the most famous example of something what I'm trying to say is Oscar Schindler. Uh, you know, Member of the Nazi Party, war profiteer, very, very shady businessman running all these businesses in the ground effectively just so he can make profit off of them. But in order for him to make that profit, he needed the cheapest employees. And in 1930s Germany, that happened to be Jewish people. So he started employing Jewish people. And as he started getting round up in concentration camps, he wanted to get them out of them. He wanted to keep them safe, mainly because it was his investments, but also he over time started reconsidering where his stances were that hey, this Holocaust thing, not good, not good at all. And by the end of the war, he had gone penniless trying to save over 1,000 people from the Holocaust. And he never succeeded in business afterwards. He was ruined. He was effectively ruined. But today his name is remembered as almost a saintly figure. I don't think he was necessarily a good person, but his actions did have unintended good things. That's the grayness of history. That's the grayness of the world in the nutshell. Not everything's wholly good. Well, not everything is sinisterly bad. But the pendulum, it's yes, the pendulum's bad when it's over here, but if you swing it over here, just as bad, just as bad. So for years, we've been dealing with it on the news. I swear, every time I turn out onto some more bad news happening, and we got to support this thing because if we don't, it's going to get worse. But then we also have pop culture. I don't watch superhero stuff, guys. I only hear little whispers of what my friends and family tell me. But I showed you the thing of Blade and Snowflake earlier. I think that sums that up in a nutshell. Uh, yeah, the Marvel Cinematic Universe started off very hot. Small group of movies, I should mention too. Start off really hot with a small band of movies. Then more characters were introduced piecemeal. But here we are now, and it should be somebody's dream. People should be loving this, right? That there's all these Marvel TV shows at your fingertips. Nobody's watching them. I don't hear people talking about them. And the little I do hear, it's not good stuff. Sounds like they're pushing the message. And yes, that is a reference to Critical Drinker. I want to get a button. I want to get a button for I need that a lot when he goes, the message. But again, bringing back to the start of the stream where I brought up wanted the outlaws. Inevitably, when things stagnate, something needs to change. Something needs to give. And if the people in power aren't going to give us that change, well, I guess we'll just have to do the change of ourselves. So there's a nice little thing occurring right now on the internet called the Iron Age. And got to share my screen again. Where's my screen? Oh no, the sword thing. All right, the Iron Age movement. Oh, not that. We will get to that. We will get to him in a moment. My live. Oh, sorry about that. I'm still. You could actually hear me backwards. You could hear me going backwards. What happened? I was I was sharing my screen just fine. Oh, you have to. Oh, okay. There we go. There we go. I don't know what was happening there for a moment. Anyways, the Iron Age movement cometh. Eventually, eventually. This is what you really tune into, folks. To watch me struggle with technology. And I'm supposed to be the age group that's supposed to know all this tech. The Iron Age movement. This, this. Oh wait, that was perfect. This term was coined by this gentleman here, Razor Fist. I believe he was the first one who coined it. Let me know in the chat if somebody said before. And essentially, just a word to essentially describe independent creators who just want to they just want to create stuff and they don't want to have to go through the conglomerates. They just want to do it themselves. And don't think that me ranting here is some political. I guess it is political, but it's not in the sense that I'm supporting a party. What I'm just saying is I don't like the current way things are going. I want new ideas. These are people giving us new ideas, and they are there are wildly different ideas involved in the Iron Age media. The website here, ironage.media, is a place where you can go and you can read a lot of short stories right now from a lot of these up and coming authors. They also have been ironage.media have actually also occasionally do interviews. They just did one with Razor Fist. They do articles about upcoming magazines. We got one right here about 365 Infantry. Let's read a little bit about it. Yeah, I know I'm in the easy read mode. Creator Jacob Kalta has cranked out 5 white-hot pulp tales of courage, daring, and hell-raising fun in the spring 2023 edition of the Substack Sci-Fi magazine. In the world of the war, just the war, the soldiers of the 365th square off against a mysterious rogue who threatens the very core of their fight for freedom when the villain zeroes in on top secret weapon developments. Can Gibson, General Knox, and the whole crew defeat the growing menace before he gets too close? Find out in the Ride the Black Country. Yes, a Black Country, yep. So, Here's another one. So we can go right over from what comes off to me as a sci-fi noir, almost war thing to Babylon Black. Singapore, Pulp Machine, Kit Sun Chi is one of the in, in, inveterate craftsmen of the media. Remember, you have a Yinzer here hosting the show. I don't speak English. I speak Yinzer. A dynamo of an author who has been pumping out exciting works for ages. And his latest triumph is Babylon Black, now live on Indiegogo. Cheese Babylon series is a wild cyberpunk opus, a world of cosmic horror, warring gods, and the end of mankind itself at hand. This latest installment includes four never before seen tales from the Hugo nominated author that will take readers to the very edge of the imagination of terror and terror. So you can go to ironage.media. There's always different people creating stuff. While, like I said, we went from war to almost looks like aliens there, like the movie Aliens, which I am always down for. You want me to quote a movie? I can do that anytime and any day. And then here coming out shortly, Media is actually going to be creating a official magazine, and I am on the email list. I am very eager for whenever this comes out. And there's going to be a series of short stories, short comics, and reviews in here. So it'll be nice to have some physical media, which that's a whole rant for another day. Physical media. Let's go over here to Bound for the Sticks, steampunk books and miniatures. Did you see the echo? Chill Kid is also asking to speak to the manager of the Iron Age. Yeah, if you speak to him, you're going to get an hour-long rant about President Lincoln. So, Bound for the Sticks, steampunk books and miniatures. Igraine has always felt like an unwanted burden, but in the city of archaeology, she finds belonging among the refugees of the multiverse. And Bonsard Bokul, who's the mastermind behind this, a little bit into this. I've been following his work for a little while now. Essentially trying to make a multiverse, a steampunk multiverse, and even then he says like steampunk, diesel punk. Yeah, go out his. I why am I? Why am I? I'll drop a link in the description eventually, and if I don't, kick me in the behind. Uh, his YouTube channel is called was Radio Retro Future, and he has it all laid out. Years of world building, the stuff that Marvel currently wishes they can do. So if you like cinematic universe stuff, this is a multiverse that he's creating right now that I think he's gonna allow other creators to hop into. We go actually watch the trailer if you want to. Hold on. That's actually what I really want. Give me that lore book. So that is the Indiegogo or no Kickstarter. There's so many different things to do that for Bound for the Sticks, and that's part of the Association of Ishtar multiverse. And we're gonna do one more. I don't want to keep everyone too long. We're gonna do one more, and that is Shotgun Samurai Legends. Before we continue, look with Shotgun Samurai. Uh, I can't reach. Uh, when I first heard of this was an instant buy. This was something I knew I must have, and now I own it, and I'm very happy about it. It's probably not going to be for everybody, but for somebody like me who likes a little bit of history and I like having fun with my history, this is definitely it. So the plot of it essentially is we have a samurai who wields a shotgun in somewhat late 19th century Japan, but it might be a made believe Japan, and it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. But you got a shotgun in Japan, and nobody knows what a firearm is, which tells me this is an alternate reality Japan because firearms have been in Japan since the mid 16th century, I believe. But shotgun samurai, he wields it. And he is on a mission to avenge all the sins of his past. But join him on his quest to avenge his sins is going to be Tofu, who is a master ninja. She's also decided to get out of her old habits of killing people for hire and wants to avenge her own sins as well, although she's definitely much more vocal than the Shotgun Samurai. And they're also tagged along by George the Ramen Man. They have a man that makes ramen for them where at all times. How can you not love this? How can you not love this? I mean, just look at the art. Look at the art. Look at the art. Look at it. It's beautiful. It's beautiful. I may not be biased. May not be biased. I think I think I've probably given the Quaff enough money to buy a lifetime supply of socks. Honestly, at this rate. But anyways, this is the original comic. Uh, you can read it digitally right now. He has a website out there. You can go read it right now. Why aren't you? No, wait, actually stay for the stream, then go read it. But they are coming out with kind of a prequel. It's gonna be basically a comic it's gonna have stories of the three main characters, like where they came from, and some other Brucey bonuses. So let's go back over. Let us go back over. Eh, let's watch. Watch the Shotgun Samurai. Do some air guitar to that. So Shotgun Samurai Legends is currently being funded. In fact, you only have 33 more hours to help support this Indiegogo, and you should. You should. It's a samurai of a shotgun. What can go wrong? And just to show some other Brucey bonuses that you get, You can get the regular cover, or you can get the Tofu the Ninja cover. You also get the nuclear fallout samurai. So when I got the shotgun samurai, I just ordered. Basically, I went to the offer when I first heard about it. I'm like, I need this in my hands now. And his older Indiegogo was still active at the time. So he said, send me go over there. You can still buy them. And he gave me the full kit. Like I was just wanting the book, but he gave me a couple little posters, little like 8x10s, and then he gave me Nuclear Samurai. I can't tell you what happens in Nuclear Samurai. It ruins it. So if you want to find out what happens in the sequel, you'll have to support Shotgun Samurai Legends. It is hilarious. And there's some nice colored panels. Colored panels. Yeah, wonderful. Okay. Okay. I'm gonna ease off on the shilling for a bit. I'm going a little bit crazy. Going a little bit crazy. Brett and I think we ought to. We deserve full shares, right, baby? Mm, to each their own. Go for it, chill kid. Go for it, chill kid. So, and just to kind of bring this all together, because again, for the longest time, I've been hem hawing if I want to talk about things that go beyond me just doing history videos. History is my passion, and it's always going to be my passion. I mean, if you look over here, that's all history books. That's all nonfiction over there, folks. And no, I've not read all of them. But my point being that is where my investment is. That's where my passion is. But that was a quote from Alien. But my point being, I feel it's all tied in. Our history, how we remember our history, our culture, how we appreciate our culture. And I just feel right now we have a lot of people, especially people my age, that are depressed, very pessimistic. And in some reasons, I understand why, and because believe me, we're not doing economically great right now. And if you live in Western Pennsylvania, you've not been doing economically great for a while. We are still a rust belt. I remember going in school, they would hammer into you the STEM programs: science, tech, engineering, mathematics. Oh, wait, no, it's called the STEAM program now. ST lowercase, no, STE lowercase a m for arts and lowercase. Oh, yeah, that was insulting to me even as a kid. But my point being, I'm not saying, and that's what the point. I'm not trying to be an absolutist, and that is probably the big problem right now. Everybody's being an absolutist. We went from one, like I said, pendulum was on one extreme, and now we swung to the other extreme. That extreme wasn't good, but going this way, not good either, where everybody was championing schools. You got to get into computers, got to get into all these science, got into mathematics. That's the only way you're going to succeed. You got to go to college, got to go get all these degrees and this and that. And indeed, Pittsburgh does. It is a leading. It's one of the leading cities for medical education and advancements in the world. People come all around the world to get treated here in Pittsburgh, and that is something Pittsburgh should be proud of. And I don't want that to go away. I thank my lucky stars for that. But not everybody wants to be that. Not everybody's gonna be that. It just certain things will interest them. But you can't just go be a car mechanic anymore because how they design these cars are like computers. It's ridiculous. You can't just fix something. Why, we used to have the motto, why fix what isn't broken? But every time something breaks, you gotta go buy a new one. It's just this culture we've created, disposable culture. It's just we've again, it's all disposable. It's all we've turned. Not only we have so many whole my computer's disposable. If my computer breaks, it's more affordable for me to go get a new computer. That's actually what happened. I had a laptop, brand new, 2019 bought it, worked great for 2.5 years, and something crashed in it, and I can't fix it. I had to buy this new beast, which I do like this new beast. I do like it. Do not break on me. But it just disposable culture. Same thing with we've taken people's interest, we've shrunken people down into their race, their gender, their sexuality, just things like don't change. It's like that doesn't make somebody human. What makes somebody human is their interest or what like going to what's going back to the bar that I was talking about earlier. If I went to that bar and everybody there would have been talking just about Yeah, man. So, since I'm descended from Irish, we do I'm Irish, and this is the Irish. That would have been fun. That would have been interesting. Nobody speaks like that anymore. Nobody speaks like that. Everybody in Western Pennsylvania is a mixture of everything. So, trying to tout one's ethnicity does not impress me or most people in Pittsburgh. I just don't understand it. But we have the hashtag movement, so we got the I support the current thing, and again, your revolution is not a revolution. It's not endorsed by the government. It's just not how that works historically. At least it should not how it works. So, just I think it all ties in. We have a sick culture, and I've seen it in the history community. We are, and I'm not. We're still making good strides, but we're starting to swing into an. We went from one dangerous pendulum. We're starting to swing into another, and it's worrying me. But as I've shown with the iron age of media, there are people trying to change it. Ultimately, if you can't fix it from the top going down, pull the pillars under and try to build something new, I guess. I guess that's what we're doing in the Iron Age. Again, I don't like that because it makes it sound negative. Like, yeah, we're tearing it down. No, no, I don't want to destroy anything. And of course, if you enjoy any of these, I've said it, I'm not much of a fan of Marvel, much of a fan of comics in general. So the only reason I've really come across a lot of this is because I've seen it in the history community. And people around here just have this defeatist culture sometimes. Like a lot of people my age want to get the heck out of Western Pennsylvania. They have no interest in staying here. In some ways, I understand. But in other ways, Pennsylvania in general is one of the most historically rich regions to live in. There's so much there because the Allegheny Mountains divides us, and we got those Philadelphians. I'm just kidding. If you're from Philadelphia, hello, those Philadelphians. We will get them when the Flyers and Pens face off again. Anyways, so we got these very unique, different sides to our state. Pennsylvania itself goes back to the late 1600s, which is very uncommon for most states in the country to talk about. So we have there's so much that happened here, and I don't want to see it just stop, I guess is what I'm saying. I appreciate what happened here in the past. I don't look at it with disgust. I don't look at the ruins of coal mines and go, ew, look at that gross. I don't want to ever do that again. I go, hey, look how hardworking people were before me. I want to live up to that. I don't literally want to go into a coal mine and nearly and risk losing my life, but I would like to work hard and achieve something similar, something new. So I guess ultimately that's why I created the channel. I want to be able to show locally, but also beyond that, cool things that I find, cool things like, hey, look, this is here in somebody's backyard. You should be proud of this. And if you're not in this backyard, you should come visit it. But please don't trespass. I don't mean a literal private property. And it's the same thing with media. It's like, no, no, there are people doing good things right now. It's not all crap. It's just nobody's focusing on it. The media want this mediocrity because this is what will make money. It's a trend. It's all a trend. It's happened before in history and it's going to happen next. But right now, this is the part of history we're living in. And much like how Wailing Jennings and Willie Nelson and Jesse Coulter went off and helped with the outlaw movement and helped redefine country music, people are going to have to do the same thing with our pop culture, music, movies, books, comics, everything. All right. Thank you for coming, Chill Kid. Enjoy your dinner. Enjoy your dinner. And I think we're going to wrap up here too. I would like to thank everybody for watching. And if you're watching the live stream, thank you for watching the recap. Thank you for staying through all my ranting. Now, this is a predominantly a history channel. This is going to remain predominantly a history channel. But just so you're aware, there are two ways you can support me. One, subscribe to this channel. Subscribe to Readout Productions because I do hope to talk more about culture in general on the main channel. So if you want to see more uncut histories like this, best thing to do, subscribe to this channel. It's right underneath there. You see the red button? Yeah, it should be right there. Hit it, subscribe. And also be sure to hit that like button. You got to hit the like button because that tells the algorithm, hey, let's not promote the same old stuff. Let's promote something new. Also, you can support me if you want to listen to me talk exclusively pop culture. If you're just not into any history whatsoever, like I just want to listen to pop culture, man. I understand that. I do have another channel for you, Hetero Media podcast. You can find a link to that in the link tree, which is in the description below. So go to my link tree. It's the second link down. See Hetero Media podcast. Click on that, and that's gonna take you to my second channel where me and a few of my friends collaborate, not regularly. I'm kind of on hiatus at the moment because I'm also the editor for the channel, and you can't see it over here. There's a mound of college work I got to get through. Mound of World War II history, Cold War history. Gonna be fun times ahead. So I'm kind of on a hiatus doing the podcast, but be sure to go to the link tree, go to Heterocore Media Podcast, subscribe to Heterocore Media Podcast, and then you can listen to me and my friends talk about all things pop culture. What have we done so far? We've talked about the movie Glory. We've talked about the anime 86. We spent 6 hours talking about Neon Genesis Evangelion and Pink Floyd's The Wall. I think it's going to be the last time I do something like that. That was that was a social experiment, but entertaining to listen to watch me lose my sanity. So be sure to listen to that. And we're currently talking about. We just got done talking about American Psycho, and I think we're going to start talking about Great Gatsby here. The next video will be about Great Gatsby, so be sure to support that. Hey, and also be sure to go find all these people I've talked about. Go to ironh.media. Go see what is going on with Bound for the Sticks for the Association Mistar. Go Go support Shotgun Samurai. You are foolhardy if you don't. If you like shotguns and samurais, you're gonna have a blast, man. You're gonna have a blast. A couple other sites that really get into talking about this Iron Age media. I mentioned Razor Fist. Believe it or not, he's actually done some history videos. I watched his Lincoln video. I don't honestly know what to make of it. I have things I like about it, and I have things that just not my interpretation of history. I'll just keep it like that. But he covers stuff like this. Uh, a drink with crazy, and I'm actually part of a gilded group. That's why I keep saying gilded accidentally throughout the stream. And probably the people watching us are from that gilded. He tries to highlight a lot of these creators. There's so many. Oh, also there's Frequency Studios, aka Wrangler. He's also good. He's been trying to highlight stuff as well. So those are just some other channels to go to if you want to get more into this Iron Age stuff. You just want to get away from the the muck of the mainstream media and what's going on over there. All right. I am beat red. I've been talking for an hour. I did the stream. I was gonna do it at 6:30, but then I got thunderstorm warnings, so I did the 6:15, and either the thunderstorms went through and I was ranting so loud, or the weather man was wrong again. It could be both, honestly. All right. Uh, eventually, I'm going to get some music. So when I do this, you need like music. So I guess I'll just beatbox to it. When is this man gonna stop? Oh, he's looping it again.